Welcome back for part 2 of our Candi Staton story. We're going to jump right into it. After Candi got divorced from Clarence Carter, she quickly found herself in another relationship. She fell in love so quickly that she got married again the year after her divorce from Carter. Her new husband was Jimmy James, who would later become her manager. Her union with James would prove to be a strange one. After the marriage was over, Candi claimed that she was never even legally married to James. She also called him a gangster and a con man. Why would she do that? She says that he hired somebody to pretend to be the judge that married them, and that he had someone falsify the paperwork. As a result, Candi says that she didn't even need to divorce him because she doesn't even remember getting married to him. During their marriage, or whatever she wants to call it, just like Candi's first husband, James was extremely controlling. He was also physically abusive to her. Additionally, he never wanted to hear her mention the word divorce. In fact, he told her that if she ever divorced him, or even mentioned the word, not only would he end her, he'd also take out her mother and her children. As if he hadn't already done enough, according to Candi, her ex also used a date rape drug on her. This is how she says it went down. One day, he told her that he wanted to fix her some breakfast. He then brought Candi some coffee, which she drank. Candi then says she doesn't remember anything after that. She also says that her doctor later verified that a date rape drug was used on her. Overall, Candi says she was forced to stay with this man for 3 years and that she was scared every day. However, the scariest situation from her time with him happened in Las Vegas. At the time, Candi was doing a 5-day residency at the Aladdin Hotel, supporting Ray Charles. After her final show, she decided to sit in the audience to watch Ray Charles' show. This angered her husband. He became upset, and he dragged her up to their suite. Candi recalls that they were staying above the 20th floor. Once they got to their room, her husband got a blick, put it to her head, and threatened to finish her off right then. He then picked her up and hung her over the balcony and told her, quote, "If you sneeze, if you cough, whatever, I'll drop you and you'll splatter like an egg," unquote. Meanwhile, Candi was thinking if this was the day she was going to die. At that point, she started talking to him, and she asked him if he knew that the Aladdin was owned by the mafia. She then told him that if he killed her, that he'd also die, because the mafia wouldn't let him out of Vegas. In fact, they'd blow him into pieces. That made him consider what she said, and he pulled her back into the room. While he'd now decided against throwing her out of the window, eliminating her was still on the table. In fact, that's exactly what he said he was going to do to her. Candi then says that at that point, she was so tired, so frustrated, that she just went to bed. And she went to sleep, with him still pointing the blick at her head. Crazily enough, the next day, they drove home like nothing ever happened. Candi says that she knew then that she had to get away from him. Okay, I'll ask the question some of you out there may be asking too. Where does she find these dudes? In 1974, along with getting married to James, Candi released the song As Long as He Takes Care of Home, which went number 6. That, however, would be her last hit with the Fame label. Towards the end of her time at Fame, Candi found out that she should have read the fine print when she originally signed with the label. The royalties she was being paid were heavily slanted in the label's favor. She blames her youth, her lack of experience, and anxiousness to just get signed on what happened. She didn't even know what she was reading. Also, the fact that Clarence Carter was blind didn't help. Candi said he couldn't read the fine print. I don't even know what to say to that. But, okay, anyway, she later lamented, "I should have had an attorney. She went on to say that she now always advises people to get one, no matter how well they might know the person they're dealing with. At that point in her career, Candi had become typecast as far as the type of records she was recording were concerned. This was during a time where the direction of music was changing, as it always does. Candi's tastes were changing too, as she was growing tired of seemingly every song she sang being about men who cheated and the women who still wanted them anyway. While she was married to James, she left the Fame label and signed with Warner Brothers. With this move, she left behind the "he done me wrong, but I still want him" style of music that she was known for. Now, she'd be doing music more in line with what was hip at the time, which eventually became disco. With Warner Brothers, she began working with producer David Crawford. He would be responsible for the biggest hit of Candi's career, and ironically, she had her awful marriage to thank for that. One day, while eating lunch with Crawford, which she often did, she shared some of the details of her marriage to him, including the incident in Las Vegas. While she was talking to him, Crawford began taking notes. He then told Candi, "I'm going to write you a song that's going to last forever." He wasn't lying. The song he was talking about would turn out to be "Young Hearts Run Free." If you check out the lyrics, the song's subject matter is a microcosm of Candi's marriage to James. Candi went one step further. She said that the song told the story of her life in 3 minutes. In 1976, Candi released the song on the album of the same name. The song went number 1 R&B, number 20 pop, and number 8 on the dance disco charts. It also made the top 10 overseas in both the UK and in Australia. While helping Candi reach new fans, the song also launched her to international stardom. It would not only prove to be her biggest hit, but also will become her signature song. And her soon-to-be ex-husband had absolutely no idea that the hit song was all about him. How delusional is this dude? How is he not aware that... Okay. In 1977, Candi would release 2 things. First, she released the album Music Speaks Louder Than Words, which spawned the single Nights on Broadway. It went to number 16 on the R&B charts. Next, she released her husband, or whatever she wanted to call him, as they broke up after 3 years of marriage, togetherness, again, whatever Candi chose to call it, or fake marriage. She called it that as well. We're going to take a time out from the story to ask you to be sure to like, subscribe, comment, share, hit the notification bell, and repeat when it comes to our videos. Also take some time to check out some of the other videos on our channel. We think you'll like those too. Now, back to our story. Despite getting away from James, Candi was still drinking more than she should have. She had never really stopped, as she said she was driven to drink by Clarence Carter. She also found that she became less nervous and more sociable when she drank, which would lead to another drink, and then another drink, and so on. Her drink of choice was Johnnie Walker Black, which Candi later said was her boyfriend. Wherever she was, it was there too. Eventually, she couldn't sleep without it, nor could she wake up without it. When she made her list of demands, known as a rider, to venues prior to her performances, that Johnnie Walker Black was always on the list. As a result, it was always in her dressing rooms. This allowed her to make sure she was ready to perform by drinking before she hit the stage. Of course, her performances eventually suffered as a result. In 1978, Candi's single Victim hit number 17, and in 1979, When You Wake Up Tomorrow hit number 13. Despite her issues and not getting much crossover success with her music, Candi was still at the height of her fame. She was one of the most well-known figures in disco, which led to appearances on both Soul Train and American Bandstand. She was also invited to the White House by President Jimmy Carter to attend the inaugural Black Music Association dinner. The 1980s would bring major changes to Candi's life. In 1980, she got married again for the 4th time. Her new husband was John Suswell, who was in the music business as well, performing as a drummer. That same year, she released her final album for Warner Brothers called coincidentally, strangely enough, Candi Staton. She then signed with Sugar Hill Records, where she released the album Nightlights. Neither of these albums was a success, as none of the singles charted any higher than number 42. By this time, Candi's drinking was catching up to her. It had gotten so bad that Candi began having problems with her kidneys. According to her, she had, quote, an antibiotic in one hand and a scotch in the other, unquote. Once, while she was at a club, Candi drank so much that she fell off one of the bar stools. After she got up, she staggered to the bathroom, which contained a full-length mirror. Looking in the mirror, Candi felt like she was seeing herself for the first time and what she had turned into. Then she started to cry. She didn't want to do what she had been doing anymore. The kidney pain she suffered was so severe it would sometimes make her black out. Her mother even pleaded with her to stop drinking because she was afraid that it would kill Candi just as it had killed Candi's father, who had passed away in 1958. In addition to her drinking, Candi was also using cocaine. Candi wanted to be done with all of her addictions. She then decided that she needed to get away from everything and return to her roots. This is when Candi turned away from secular music and returned to recording gospel music. She would also go cold turkey in order to stop drinking. She also began going to church with Shaka Khan's sister, Taka Boom. Candi would later say that God took away her weaknesses and replaced them with his strengths. She also said that she was burned out. However, when she went back to the church, she got refreshed. She turned down numerous opportunities to continue to perform secular music. Despite struggling financially at the time, Candi turned them all down because she simply didn't want to do those songs anymore. For the better part of the next 2 decades, Candi focused on doing gospel music. With help from Jim and Tammy Faye Baker, she founded a record label and publishing company. She and her husband also had a Christian TV show called New Direction, which appeared on the Trinity Broadcasting Network. She also appeared on various religious TV shows like Praise the Lord and Success in Life. Things were going well until Candi divorced Suswell in 1998. This caused the distributor for her upcoming album to change their minds about releasing it. This brought Candi's career to a screeching halt. Additionally, according to Candi, the church turned their back on her. Apparently, divorce was a sin that they found unforgivable. After her divorce, Candi said that it happened because her husband had ways she couldn't handle. He'd gone back to using drugs while also physically abusing Candi. Additionally, John depended on her to work while he chilled and played video games or tinkered with computers. Furthermore, as fast as Candi made money, John was spending it. Around this same time, Candi was surprised to find out that she had an unexpected hit song in the UK. It was called You Got the Love and was a song that she'd originally recorded years earlier for a documentary about some dude's weight loss. The song had been remixed and released by the British group The Source. Initially, Candi wasn't feeling this remix version. She said the song had been remixed so much she didn't even recognize it. Eventually, though, she came to like it. In 2009, the song would get even bigger when the group Florence and the Machine, an indie rock group, released it. Prior to its release, Candi had worked with the group on the song, and she was ecstatic with its success because she owned half the publishing. In 2010, Candi met former Major League Baseball player Otis Nixon. They fell in love quickly, and 3 months later, Candi took a chance on love again and walked down the aisle for the 5th time. Candi was a cradle robber too, as Otis was 19 years younger than her. The year they got married, Candi was 70, while Otis was 51. The marriage was short-lived though, lasted only 18 months. Candi says she doesn't even know why it lasted that long, because in the first week, she already knew it wasn't going to work. She described Otis as being competitive about everything, and she was too old for that. It seems she may have gotten away from Otis in the nick of time. The year following their divorce, he was pulled over by police for driving erratically. Nixon, who was an addict, had relapsed into cocaine use. As a result, cops found a rat pipe on Nixon, as well as rat cocaine, scattered around his car. In 2017, Candi decided to try that marriage thing one more time. For marriage number 6, she married Henry Hooper, who was a former member of the Secret Service. He was in that position for 4 different presidents. After they got married, Candi joked that if the presidents could trust Henry, so could she. Even though Candi and Henry are married, it's not the traditional marriage that you think about. For instance, they don't live together. Candi explains that they're doing it that way because they each need their own space and they spend a lot of time with their own families. What kind of stuff is this? What's the use of being married if you're going to continue to do these things separately? You could have just left things like they were. I don't know what's happening. I'm just telling the story. Now, after everything that she had already been through, in 2018, Candi would be hit with yet another blow. She was diagnosed with breast cancer. Candi found the lump through self-check, so luckily the cancer was discovered early. Doctors were optimistic as she began chemotherapy and radiation treatments. Over the next year, she fought valiantly against the terrible disease, refusing to get too down or to feel sorry for herself. The next year, in 2019, at age 79, Candi beat cancer, as doctors said she was cancer-free. She gave some of the credit to her fans for their great show of support and helping to motivate her to continue to fight the disease. And of course, the rest of the credit went to God. I've been through hell and back, Candi said, but God was there the whole time. After her battle, Candi began encouraging other women to take time to get their regular mammograms too. Additionally, she also advised women they shouldn't let their age, whether they were young or old, fool them into thinking that cancer can't happen to them. She was proof that it could happen to anyone. Currently, at 84 years old, Candi Staton still continues to travel and perform around the world, and she doesn't appear to be ready to slow down anytime soon. 2 of her children, Cassandra, doing background vocals, and Marcus, playing the drums, have performed and recorded music with her. If she's nothing else, Candi Staton is a survivor. You name it, she's gone through it. 5 ex-husbands, domestic abuse, death threats, being cheated by her record label twice, alcoholism, being cheated on, being hung from a balcony 20 feet above the ground, and being diagnosed with breast cancer. Let us not forget that she grew up in the cradle of Jim Crow and the Klan and the oppression that came with all that. Meanwhile, in between everything that I just listed, she's been in the music business for over 70 years. She's excelled in gospel, blues, R&B, disco, and gospel again. Through it all, Candi has very few regrets about her life. And why should she? She's beaten everything that life's thrown at her. Without going through everything that she has, Candi doubts that she would be the strong woman she is today, and she wouldn't change that for anything. What did you think about the life of Candi Staton? Do you believe that somebody accidentally finds the same type of guy over and over again? Let us know in the comments. Thanks for coming to check us out, listening to and watching our video. We hope you'll come back as we put out more content. Thanks again and see you soon.